In today's video, I will show you how you can lose belly fat and get visible abs so you can look toned, sexy and feel confident in your body. This 3-step approach is science-based, works for women with hormone imbalances, and you can start seeing results in as little as 21 days. In case you wonder why you should listen to me, I'm Sandra, I'm hormone nutritionist and trauma-informed health coach. Here are the results my clients achieved, and here is also my own transformation. I went from chubby, struggling with high cortisol, PCOS and underactive thyroid to finally getting to 18% body fat without dieting or extreme exercise. And today I'm going to show you exactly how so you can achieve the same result. So the first one, as you can probably imagine, is a diet. I call it nutrition non-negotiable principles. And here are 3 things you really need to get it right. These are calorie deficit and getting your macros right, then meal timing and insulin sensitivity, and then blood sugar balance. So let's start with the most basic one, which is like the calorie deficit. To lose fat, you have to be in calorie deficit. That's like non-negotiable. But to lose belly fat, you also need to make sure that your hormones are balanced. And generally, there is no such a strategy to target certain part of your body where you want to lose fat. But quite often what happens, the excess accumulation of the fat around your stomach area is driven by imbalanced hormones. So in terms of like calorie deficit, I usually recommend no more than 20% of your like regular calorie intake. When you look at the research papers, 500 calorie deficit is the most common that you can see. And also a lot of research shows that fat loss comes down pretty much to calorie in and out, like your energy balance. Is that true though? The answer is for some people yes, but for some people definitely no. And that's something I want you to keep in mind. Just don't follow blindly what's in the research, because research papers usually just focus on few markers in isolation to prove a certain theory, but they don't consider a lot of other factors that may play a role in your health and your fat loss as well, like your genetics, cultural background, the most important, how stressed you are, past traumas as well, and also how much and how you exercise, because that will have impact as well. I used to, for example, follow keto diet for quite a long time because a lot of research papers were saying that it's great for fat loss. But here is what actually happened. At some point, I'd hit plateau and then I actually started gaining fat. That time it didn't make much sense to me, but now I know that also keto diet can suppress your thyroid and also increase cortisol, and that will stop your fat loss. So that's just example of do your research, but also take into consideration your own situation and your health as well. And I'm sure that within your close circles of family, friends, even like work colleagues, you know at least one person that is eating well, exercising, but still for some reason cannot lose that stubborn belly fat or weight overall. And here is where the hormones come in place. And that's why also a calorie deficit or calorie in and out is also just a part of the equation. So in terms of hormones, high insulin, high cortisol, high estrogen, and low thyroid, so they all may prevent you from losing that fat despite being in a calorie deficit. In terms of insulin, excess carbs and excess stress are like 2 main drivers. In terms of like high cortisol, a lack of sleep and stress, again, 2 big drivers. If it comes to estrogen, high cortisol, poor liver, poor gut, and low thyroid, they all will have impact on excess estrogen. And then low thyroid, again, stress. Honestly, stress is like one of the biggest, I would say, disruptors of health, fat loss, and hormonal balance. Plus nutrient deficiency. I made a couple of other videos in terms of like thyroid, estrogen, cortisol. So if you would like to check it out or you suspect that could be a problem in your case, I will put the links below. And if you want to one-on-one support in terms of sorting your hormones, you can also book nutritional consultation with me where I can help you choose the right test and also make the personalized action plan for you. So back to a calorie deficit. From my experience, 400, 300 usually works the best. And what also can be extremely helpful is using one of the fitness tracker. I personally use Oura Ring, mostly for the stress, but in terms of calories, it shows you exactly how much calories you burn each day. So that's, I would say, the most accurate way to know how much calories you should consume. So for example, if you burn 2000 calories, to lose fat, you need to eat less than those 2000 calories. So 20% less of 2000 is around 1600 calories a day. So that's one way. The other way to calculate your calorie deficit could be using one of the online calculators where you input your age, weight, height, and also activity level. Or you can also use this resting metabolic rate formula where you input your weight, height, age, and if you exercise, then you also need to add the calories burned during the exercise. So that gives you the amount of calories your body needs. And again, to calculate deficit, you take out either 20% as a maximum value or the for 300 I mentioned. So then once you sort out your calorie deficit, getting your macros right, super important. And here I'm not talking only about the split between protein, carbs, fats, and fiber, but also the type of the food and quality as well. So in terms of like the protein, carbs, fats, let's start with the most interesting and I would say most controversial at the same time, protein. So you don't really need more protein to burn fat, get fat belly. What you really need is just getting enough protein. And the main reason for that is that excess protein consumption comes with certain side effects that not many people talk about, but over time they can have impact on your hormones, gut, inflammation, and then also fat loss. So again, I'm not saying avoid the protein, but just really get enough. And in terms of like how much you need, looking at the research, the recommendation goes from 0.5 to even 2.5 grams per kilogram of body weight. I usually recommend 0.8 up to 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight. Here you can see the table with the exact breakdown depending on your activity level. Generally, if you have sedentary lifestyle, you aim towards more 0.8, 1 gram of protein. If you're like active, you can go up to 1.5 grams. Also, if it comes to protein, there is common, I don't want to say myth, but I would say common recommendation or tip in the fitness or health industry that increasing the protein intake increases your metabolism or help you burn more calories. And that's of course like true when you look at the research. Yes, protein has the higher thermic effect on your body, but looking on your like total energy balance, thermic effect only accounts for like 10% really. So you can think about that protein makes your body to work harder to break it down because it's one of the hardest to digest compounds, but it doesn't really mean that it will help you burn more fat or increase your metabolism significantly, because two biggest factors that have the biggest impact on your metabolism is your muscle mass and thyroid. And to build muscle, you need to eat protein, carbs as well, and exercise. Lifting weights is one of the most, I would say, effective, fastest way to build those muscles. And if you feel your metabolism is slow, then honestly look on your thyroid, because if your thyroid is suboptimal, then no matter if you try in terms of drinking apple cider vinegar, eating more protein, it can help, but I wouldn't say it will be game changer in terms of like your metabolism. So just really what you need to do is just eat enough of the protein. And here are also examples of the good quality protein, and variety is always the key. Then carbs. You definitely don't want to cut carbs completely, because women need minimum amount of carbs, which is 120 grams to basically maintain your hormonal balance. And also carbs helps to calm down the cortisol, not only from like exercise, but sometimes also from like the life stressors. So cutting carbs completely can work for like a short period of time, but long term is definitely not a sustainable, not healthy solution for fat loss and staying healthy. So 120 if you don't exercise. If you exercise, 150 up to 180 I would say. If you really push yourself hard at the gym or more like athletic level of workout training, then you can go up to 200 to 150. And here I put the example of the good quality carbs and also the carb content in the common foods. And if it comes to carbs, you also don't want to go more than 30-50 grams per meal. And that's more if it comes to like the blood sugar balance that I will explain in a second. But it's just like another very important factor in terms of hormonal balance and fat loss. Then the next one, fats. And I know that with fats, there is a lot of, I would say, bad reputation, that fats are bad, fats will make you fat, or fats leads to cardiovascular diseases. And if you choose healthy fats, like few examples you can see here, you don't have to worry about how much fats you eat if you get your protein right, carbs right, and you stay within that calorie deficit. So in terms of like how to get idea how much fats, I will show you how you can calculate that. So for example, you aim for those 1600 calories a day, and then all you need to do is subtract the caloric value of protein, carbs, and divide that by 9, which is the amount of calories in 1 gram of fat. So if you eat, for example, 90 grams of protein a day, you multiply that by 4, so that's 360. Then you subtract 150 grams of carbs you eat per day, multiply by 4, so that's 600. So 1600 minus 360 minus 600 is 640. And when you divide that by 9, that gives you around 71 grams of fat. And then the last one, fiber. So fiber, it's mostly fruits and vegetables, but what you really want to focus on is so-called soluble fiber, because that's especially important for like the hormonal balance and also a gut detox as well. So if you're a woman, want to lose belly fat, soluble fiber, that's something you definitely want to include. And here you have examples of good sources of soluble fiber. My favorite is yellow-green banana chia seeds. That's kind of like my daily part of my snack. So now you have all this information in terms of like protein, carbs, fats, fiber, calorie deficit, but you may have the question, okay, but how my meal should look like. So here, for example, is that template I would say you can use to compose your plate for lunch, dinner, even breakfast if you want. And I know it may sound like a bit of boring, not flavorsome. So what you want to do is find some good dressing that gives that nice flavor to your dish so you can also enjoy. Because I don't believe we should power through like the diet or the changes we are making. I do believe we should enjoy what we eat. And that comes down to finding flavors and dishes you like. From the quick ones and healthy ones you can buy, for example, olive-based mayo, easy one to get and also adds flavor to the dish. Olive oil-based pesto, for example. Tahini paste is quite good as well. Or you can also have a look for like ready-made sauces at organic stores, because organic stores usually have less of unnecessary ingredients. And if you're just starting your like health fat loss journey, I would say find just one breakfast you enjoy, find one lunch you enjoy, and one dinner as well. Master the prep time, ingredients you need, and once it feels easy or you get bored at some point as well, then you change or add some tweaks. And here is just again example how your day could look like, including some snacks. Nothing wrong with snacks as long as they are like good quality, ideally protein rich snack. But again, be mindful with that protein take. Definitely don't overdo on that. And then if it comes to meal timing, it's pretty simple. All you need to do is keep minimum 12 hours overnight fast, and ideally fit most of your calories or like meals during the day or by afternoon the latest, I would say. And the main reason for that is the insulin. Insulin is so-called fat storing hormone, and if it's high or it stays elevated for a prolonged period of time, that unfortunately can make that fat loss harder. And if you want to maximize that fat loss, have a light early dinner, 6 p.m., ideally 3-4 hours before bed. And here is why, or what happens with your insulin, how does it impact the fat burning window overnight. For example, if you have early light dinner, it spikes insulin, but not so much, and then it drops quite quickly for the night. And when the insulin is low, glucagon, the fat burning hormones, gets activated. But if you have large meal or eat late at night, that insulin may stay elevated for longer, and then the fat burning window will be very short comparing to if you had dinner earlier in the evening. And then the last one, non-negotiable nutrition principle for the fat loss is your blood sugar balance. So what does it mean? When you eat food, you want to make sure that your blood sugar stays within like the healthy, normal range, because that will not only help with like hormonal balance, but also prevent from those insulin spikes and then fat storage. So to make sure that your blood sugar stays stable, having a combination of protein, carbs, fats, and fiber with each of your meal, that's like I would say the bare minimum. So you can use like the plate example I showed you earlier. But apart from that, what you also want to make sure is managing your stress, because stress increases cortisol, and cortisol can increase that insulin, will then put you into fat storage, but also cortisol directly causes fat storage as well, especially around like the belly area. Then also sleep, and for minimum 8 hours of sleep, I would say, especially when you exercise, because lack of sleep increases cortisol, and it can also increase carbs and sugar craving, which brings me to the last one, sugar. If it comes to blood sugar balance, excess sugar intake, one of the worst, but don't worry, you don't have to quit all the sugar. What matters is remove processed sugar where possible, or packaged foods with processed sugar, and I usually recommend around 50 grams of sugar, of all occurring sugars a day. If you exercise, maybe a bit more, like 60, 70. Fruits, honey are, I would say, great healthy sources of getting that sugar. So if it comes to step one, nutrition, diet, that's pretty much it. And then step number 2 is more about like mindset, motivation, and execution, because you may know everything what I shared with you, but then nothing will change if we don't implement that, and that's usually the hardest part. I'm also starting Superwoman community for fat loss, hormone health optimization, and accountability. So if you would like to be part of it, you can join the waitlist and you will get notification once everything is up and running. But back to step 2, mindset, motivation. I listed 3, I would say, the most powerful reminders you want to ask yourself every day, and that's honestly, I would say, a game changer. So first one is, what's gonna change in 1 month if I don't do X? So it sounds simple, but what I notice when we just say, you know, I'm just gonna do this tomorrow, or postponing something, we don't really feel how quickly the time passes. And sometimes we may wake up after a month, or sometimes even like 6 months, and realize that not much changed. And what really matters is that consistency and doing those little, I would say, bare minimum every day. And to give you an example, doing groceries was something I really didn't enjoy. So when I ran out of food, I was like, oh gosh, I have to go to the shop, carry this bag, and just thought of it was like, I really don't feel like doing that. But in those moments, what I was doing was, you know, actually it will take me just 10 minutes walk, 15 minutes maybe in the store, 10 minutes walking back. It's half an hour of my time, but then I'm set for like the next couple of days at least. And if I don't do that, I will either order something unhealthy or even not eat enough. And that, of course, will not help me with my fat loss or my goals. And then the next one, a powerful reminder that can give you a little kick to actually do the things you know you should be doing, is ask yourself, how will I feel if 1 month passes, but I'm still in the same place? And trust me, it happened quite a lot. And sometimes we need, I would say, many times to realize I'm done, I need a change. Or sometimes it's just building that awareness so we prevent from wasting our times, I would say, and do the things that not only help us like look better, but also feel better, because I'm all about, I would say, healthy fat loss, not purely focusing on aesthetic. And then the third one is what I feel like doing versus what is needed. So again, if we rely too much on what we feel like doing, it will not take us far. But it's also not about doing only chores or duties or the things you have to do. Again, all about balance. And here what works is doing first what is needed to get you from A to B, and then doing what you feel like doing as a reward for your efforts. So if you feel like watching your TV series with your favorite snack, do the exercise that I'm gonna show you in a second, or go to the gym, do whatever, go for a walk, and then watch the TV series. And if you want to learn more how to stay consistent, I call it fat loss consistency formula, you can watch also this video. So the right diet with staying consistent will help you lose fat, but to get those abs, you need to do exercise. No other way around that. You can get abs just from sitting. And what I'm sharing with you, it's like literally the bare minimum to get you results. But if, for example, you enjoy exercising, of course you can do more. And for the exercise here, the good thing is you don't really need much time, and you can do that from home. So 3 exercises, 3 rounds, and if you want, you can also go for the bonus exercise to really feel that burn. So in total, you need around 10 minutes for that. You don't have to do that every day. Every other day is great, or you just do 4 times per week. So you really need 45 minutes per week. Here is the exact plan, but I will also put the link for the follow along routine so you can just play and follow.